So, 3 hours and 20 minutes. Yep. I had time last week to watch shorter films and review them, but I had it in my head that this needed to be the next movie that I watched. So I didn't watch any movies last week, and I was pretty busy here and there anyway. Would have been a bit of a squeeze, but I could have managed it if I wanted to. But I just knew, first available opportunity, I was going to plonk myself down and watch Dr. Zhivago, which is a war romance kind of movie, I guess. And was made in 1965, directed by David Lean, written by Robert Bolt, and it stars Omar Sharif as Dr. Zhivago. You've got Julie Christie as Lara, Rod Steiger as Komorowski, Alex Guinness as Zhivago's brother, whose surname is also Zhivago. Don't make me say all the Russian names from start to finish. I can't do that. It's based off a book of the same name, and I never read the book, but I wonder if this book is the novel equivalent of 3 hours and 20 minutes. So, big thick book would take forever to read. I don't know. I'm going to say, though, you can skip the first 5 minutes. It starts with an overture and playing all this, music. I'm like, okay, all right. So I just got up and went, skip ahead. Oh, yep, still in the overture. Skip ahead, still in the overture. Fucking hell. Now it's one of those old movies that nearly all of the credits are at the start. So you can skip that too. So if you watch Dr. Zhivago, skip the first 5 minutes. You won't miss a bloody thing. Now the movie's set just before and during and after the Russian Revolution. And I have vague memories of stuff I learned doing the Russian Revolution in high school. But I think that having some kind of knowledge did help in certain parts of the film where it helps to understand character motivations and shit like that. Maybe it's not that necessary. All the characters are really well defined, wonderfully acted, and you always get a sense of their motivations and stuff. I will say that this movie, it's not very dialogue heavy. It's not like it's quiet, but it does have its quiet moments. But it's not as populated or filled with dialogue as you'd imagine. For a movie that's like 3 hours and 20 minutes. I'm going to keep saying that, by the way. 3 hours and 20 minutes, 3 hours and 20 minutes. For a movie that is that long, the script is like not 3 or 4 times the size of, an hour and a half movie or anything like that. So the story, it's pretty much follows Yuri Zhivago as he's a doctor slash poet, and, the factions and things like that in this movie, they prize his medical skills and all that kind of stuff, but they see him as subversive because he writes all this poetry and shit. So he's a bit of a persecuted person throughout the Russian Revolution, but he kind of refuses to leave no matter what. And it's an interesting movie. I didn't expect to get swept away in it, but I did, and before I knew it, this happened. And followed by this. I'm like, okay, so I'm halfway. All right, sweet. That wasn't too bad. It was a little slow, but wonderful characters, great acting. The movie's really gorgeous. And I'm like, yeah, all right, I'm down. Cool. Let's go. Second half. And the second half feels like it grinds to a halt. You feel like you've got a movie like this. You've got your slow start and middle. It's not slow in a boring way, but it's just slowly paced. But it's always interesting. And then the second half happens, and it's it's about as sparse as the scenery in the second half, where they're all in small country towns or something like that, or in isolated local communities. And it's lots of staring at the scenery, lots of close-ups, and not much. Like, I reckon you could probably edit like half an hour out of the first half of the movie, though I'd keep most of it because it's really fucking good. The second half of the movie, though, oh man, yeah, that needs some trimming. It's really, really slow and it drags. You think as a movie goes along, it builds and builds and builds and builds and builds. Not so with this. I guess they decided to follow the book or whatever. And if the book's like this, then that's a bummer too. You want at least a crescendo of some sorts. Instead, the ending is, I guess, kind of sad and all that kind of stuff. I'm not going to spoil it. I guess you can watch the movie. It's three. It sounds like I'm shitting on it, but I was satisfied with the conclusion of the movie. I just wish it took not as long to bloody well get there, because there's a lot of fun. Oh, fun. I say that about a movie like Doctor Zhivago. It's really interesting to watch. The characters are wonderful, and the performances are fantastic. In particular, I really liked Rob Steiger as Victor Koromovsky. I thought he was absolutely incredible. Julie Christie's really good. Omar Sharif is wonderful, and so is Alec Guinness, who not only is a character in the film, but he narrates the movie as well. And it gets bleak, but I always wanted to find out what would happen to these characters next. And I did. And it's a little long, but I give it a 7. Yeah. Whew. If you're snowed in, or if it's a really rainy day and you got nothing better to do, it's on Netflix. You could do worse. In fact, you could watch this all the way up to the intermission, press stop, pause, whatever the fuck, and then just come back the next day or whatever. It's very helpful like that. It's not as helpful as the Justice League movie, which had like 6 or 7 chapters, so you could watch it like a TV series. Yeah, you can watch this like, I guess, a mini series. Why not? So yeah, I kind of put this off, and I needed to do this movie. I don't know, it's out of my wheelhouse, and what's the point in just doing movies I know I'll like all the time, or I'll know I'll dislike? You know, it's always good to challenge yourself and watch something, well, different. I guess it's kind of a romance. This is as close to fucking a romantic movie I guess I've gotten so far. But yeah, the movie's absolutely gorgeous. The costumes, the period, they got everything right. I mean, everyone's walking around speaking with fucking English accents and shit, but who cares? Check it out.